wears on you a little bit, and just to be a part of a winning clubhouse, there's nothing like it, and you just want to you just want it so bad, and to finally be here, it feels special.
Yeah, it's just the process of how some seasons go. In a position to be able to come through those bad years and be on a team where we've turned things around in a pretty quick way. So it's been a lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing what we do after tonight.
The Orioles finalized the 5 patch they will wear for the rest of the season and postseason to honor Brooks Robinson. They wore a 5 last night, but this look right here is the final product moving forward on their jerseys to honor Mr. Oriole. Also, the Orioles released today that on Monday, right here at Camden Yards at 10 a.m., they will have an open and public and free memorial for Brooks Robinson. Reporting live at Camden Yards, I'm Morgan Adsett for Sports Unlimited.
We are getting ready for the next chance for showers tonight and tomorrow. There's also the chance for a few stray showers. Temperatures reach 69. Then we have a little bit warmer for Saturday, 73, and 80 and sunny by Sunday. I'll let you know how long you can expect the 80s to stick around in my full forecast in about 20 minutes. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, Republicans leading to an impeachment inquiry hearing into President Joe Biden. The concerns being raised about the hearing overshadowing a potential government shutdown. And an arrest made in the murder of a young tech CEO in Baltimore. We have team coverage on all aspects of this developing case.
An arrest is made in the murder of a rising Baltimore tech CEO. The troubling new details the charging documents are revealing. And Fox 45 continues to hold your elected leaders accountable. We asked Governor Moore if he will press state lawmakers to target repeat offenders. And later, Republicans hold their first hearing of the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, the back and forth between parties on if this inquiry is even necessary.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
I know this arrest does not bring back Pava, LaPere or take away the heels of the many victims of Mr. Billingsley. But my hope is at least we can give a sense of closure to the city of Baltimore, the victims of all of his crimes and all their families.
A small sense of relief for family and friends of Pava LaPere. Jason Billingsley has been arrested. He is accused of multiple violent crimes, including the brutal killing of LaPere, a rising Baltimore tech CEO. Police say they tracked him for days before eventually surrounding him with SWAT teams and capturing him at the MARC train station on Laurel Bowie Road in Prince George's County late last night. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight, we have team coverage as we press police, lawmakers, and legal experts for answers on why this repeat offender was let out of jail in the first place. We're also demanding answers to why the public was not alerted to crimes he's suspected of committing days before LaPere's murder, and what's being done to make sure it doesn't happen again. Let's start with Alexa Ashwell, who was at the BPD press conference this morning.
According to these court documents, investigators ruled Pava LaPere's death a homicide by strangulation and blunt force trauma. But many questions remain about this investigation, as well as the handling of the search for Billingsley. Here, accused murderer and rapist Jason Billingsley's mugshot after he was taken into custody at a train station in Bowie, Maryland. Newly obtained court documents shedding new light on two violent crimes police say the convicted felon and sex offender committed just days apart. An attempted murder, rape, and arson in West Baltimore September 19th, then the murder of Pava LaPere at her apartment building in Mount Vernon, which investigators are now saying occurred Friday, September 22nd. LaPere's body discovered on the roof of the building that following Monday. Court documents revealing surveillance video captured the male waving to LaPere to open the lobby door. She does, then the two can be seen getting onto the elevator together.
We don't know if there are any connections previously to Miss LaPere or Mr. Billingsley.
Baltimore police receiving heavy questioning over what the department did know. Billingsley had been identified as the suspect who raped a woman and attempted to kill her and another man inside a home on Edmondson Avenue September 19th. In court documents, the victim told investigators Billingsley identified himself as maintenance, that he kicked in the front door, pointed a gun at her, duct taped her, and handcuffed the other victim, then raped, slashed, and set them on fire. A warrant was issued for Billingsley's arrest not long after, but the public never notified when questioned.
This was not a random act of violence.
Acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley said there was no indication Billingsley was committing random acts and investigators were actively tracking him.
You said Billingsley was being tracked, yet he was still able to commit another violent, heinous act. How is that so? And at what point do you weigh the community safety? This was a violent rapist who was roaming the streets of Baltimore, and the public had no idea. Could this knowledge have prevented Pava's death?
I'm not going to speculate whether it could have prevented her death, but what I know we did is as soon as we realized that there was a public safety, we had the press conference.
So why didn't BPD reveal Billingsley was in fact the suspect in both cases during the initial press conference? The acting commissioner said the Edmondson victims needed protection.
Because there was two victims from Edmondson Avenue that were still out. One was in the hospital, one was at their location. We had to get them protection if we were going to put that information out.
Worley questioned on public trust.
If we made a mistake, I'd tell you we made a mistake like I did in Brooklyn. I don't think we made a mistake in this case.
Billingsley is facing charges related to 3 separate cases. The third, a gun theft charge out of Baltimore County. According to court documents, he stole a gun from a safe out of a friend's home in Owings Mills. Investigators have not yet said if he was in fact armed at the time of his arrest. Billingsley is being held without bond. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, last night in Mount Vernon, Pava LaPere's friends, family, and neighbors gathered to mourn her loss and celebrate her life. Her father, mother, and brother thanking the community for being so good to their daughter.
She was the definition of daddy's little girl. She had me wrapped and still does. So I want to thank you all for being here and for loving our daughter and taking care of her.
In the wake of her death, many are asking why her accused killer was even out on the streets in the first place. Those questions mainly revolving around a plea deal given to Jason Billingsley. Back in 2015, he pleaded guilty to a first-degree sex offense and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. He then struck a plea deal where he was only ordered to serve 14 years. According to the court transcript obtained by other news outlets, Judge Emmanuel Brown said he didn't think the sentence was long enough, noting the prosecutors struck the agreement when the victim in the case didn't want to testify. Retired Judge Wanda Keyes Heard, who was not involved in the case but spent 21 years on the bench in Baltimore City Circuit Court, says judges try to do their best with the information they're given.
In that instance, if you're having problems with your witness, the judge then has to weigh whether or not going along with the guilty plea is worth the chance versus the alternative, which would be no guilty finding at all. In other words, if the victim doesn't cooperate, it is very likely the state can't prove their case.
Well, ultimately, Billingsley was released last October on good behavior credits, only serving 7 years in prison, a decision not made by the judge. Billingsley's arrest is reigniting a push for stronger laws to address repeat violent offenders in Annapolis. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues our live team coverage after questioning Governor Moore about what he wants to see changed.
Baltimore City leaders say that Jason Billingsley is a repeat violent offender, and we're pressing Governor Wes Moore to find out if he's going to demand lawmakers in Annapolis pass legislation to implement tougher penalties. Maryland laws under the microscope again. Jason Billingsley suspected of brutally killing Baltimore Tech CEO Pava LaPere at her apartment building. Despite being denied parole twice, Billingsley released in October 2022 after serving 2/3 of his sentence for first-degree sex offense.
In the state of Maryland, you can earn what's called diminution credits. It was more or less the systematic, to me, failure in terms of what happened.
Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says the diminution credit system should be re-evaluated, especially since in 2016, the Justice Reinvestment Act allowed Billingsley, who is a convicted sex offender, to tally up good behavior credits.
Maybe the legislature could maybe look at what first-degree sex offense or first-degree rape. Are these individuals still going to be eligible for diminution credits?
While touring Baltimore City Community College, we pressed Governor Wes Moore. When will we see you demand lawmakers take action to ensure that a suspect like this doesn't get released to commit another heinous crime like we saw?
Pava was a light, and she was a leader in our community. She was a leader in their tech community, and she was failed. I want results, and we've got to move on this because Pava was failed, and we have to do a better job of making sure we have laws in the books that are protecting our community and getting these violent offenders off of our streets.
There was a bill introduced during last session and several years prior that would have targeted violent repeat offenders, and it never moved. Will that change during next session?
I want to make sure that in the next session, and our administration will be working closely with the administration to make sure that we have bills that will make it to my desk that can be pushed, moved, and that I can sign that can make sure we're getting repeat violent offenders off of our streets.
Are you demanding the Democrats do that?
I'm going to be working with our legislature to ensure that we can have legislation that will move, make it to my desk, and that I will sign to make sure we're getting and keeping violent offenders off of our streets.
Not a direct answer from the governor about the Violent Firearms Offender Act, which called for tougher penalties for repeat violent offenders. Meanwhile, State Senator Antonio Hayes suggests narrowing who is allowed to be released under the diminution credit system. Would you support legislation that eliminates the good time served credits for someone in a situation like this?
It depends. When it comes to extreme levels of violence, I think that is something worth considering.
And remember, the bill targeting repeat violent offenders has been introduced year after year after year without movement. So it's unclear if 2024 will be any different. When asked about making changes to the diminution credit system, the governor's office says all options are on the table to ensure Maryland communities are safe. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Do Maryland's current crime laws make you feel more safe or less safe? So far, 94% of people who voted say less safe. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Fox 45 is following breaking news. Another Baltimore City leader is leaving her position. Irene Augustin, the head of Baltimore's Homeless Services Agency, has resigned. Right now, it's unclear why she's leaving. Ms. Augustin was appointed by Mayor Scott in 2021. Her tenure has been tumultuous. Just this year, the city lost nearly $11 million in federal money because of clerical errors in the office. Fox 45 News spoke with Councilmember Eric Costello about the state of the agency.
Well, there are a number of simple administrative tasks that did not occur. They were justified as not occurring because there were turnover in that office, and that certain individuals in the office didn't have access to credentials. Credentials are the username and the password.
Well, the city says for her role, it will be filled by October 16th. And Fox 45 will keep you updated. Mary?
Okay, thank you. Taking a live look at Camden Yards tonight, where in less than 30 minutes, the Orioles will face off against the Boston Red Sox. It comes after they were able to score a victory over the Washington Nationals last night, 5-1. If they win tonight, they would clinch their first AL East title in 9 years. Fox 45 following the game will bring you full reports tonight on Fox 45 at 10 and on the late edition. Republicans today leading an impeachment inquiry hearing into President Biden. The concerns being raised about the hearing overshadowing a potential government shutdown.
Who just increased their presidential odds after last night's debate? And did Donald Trump score by skipping out? I'm Scott Thuman with a look at what's next in the race for the White House.
And we are getting ready for a pretty cloudy evening into the night if you're heading to the Orioles game. Temperatures fall to the 60s, the low 60s by the 9th inning, and there could be stray showers. I'll let you know the timing of the rain and when to expect drier weather in my full forecast.
Well, the race for the White House heating up even more now that the second debate is in the books and we're less than 4 months from the first votes being cast. So did anyone put a dent in Donald Trump's big lead? And what's the White House's reaction? Sinclair Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman shows us.
Well, it's becoming a routine now. Donald Trump still avoiding the debates and nowhere near the event, in this case, claiming he won from 2,300 miles away. It is a game of catch me if you can. Donald Trump boycotting debates and somehow still coming out on top. A Snap survey by the Daily Mail shows Trump won the debate just by staying away. His commanding lead likely to remain for now. Trump calling the debate little more than auditions for his future administration.
They're all job candidates. They want to be in the, they'll do anything. Secretary of something. They even say VP. I don't know. Does anybody see any VP in the group? I don't think so.
His team tweeting out the debate was boring and inconsequential. Nothing that was said will change the dynamics. And the RNC should immediately put an end to any further primary debates. But voters are still shopping around. Just 1/5 of them in Iowa and only about a quarter in New Hampshire say they're considering Trump and no one else.
We can't trust you. We can't trust you.
And while Nikki Haley delivered another strong debate performance, there was also good news for Ron DeSantis in that Daily Mail survey, who viewers called the most presidential and most competent on stage.
Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you.
In other words, don't declare his candidacy dead just yet, especially since Trump's perceived triumphs often are accompanied by troubles. On Monday, another hearing in the $250 million civil fraud trial in New York for allegedly inflating the value of his property and assets, and President Biden painting a gloomy picture of what another Trump presidency would bring.
Democracy should unite all Americans, regardless of political affiliation. And there's something dangerous happening in America now. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy, the MAGA movement.
That was President Biden in what he called his address on democracy, and doing so while honoring a Republican, the legacy of the late Arizona Senator John McCain. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman. Mary, back to you.
Well, the GOP-led House Oversight Committee held its first hearing in the impeachment inquiry of President Biden. Republicans are raising constitutional and legal questions in an attempt to tie the president to his son's foreign endeavors. To be clear, there is currently no public evidence to date of any wrongdoing by President Biden. Republicans continue to maintain they have a, quote, mountain of evidence against the president, while some Democrats are raising concerns about having an impeachment inquiry hearing so close to potential government shutdowns.
For years, President Biden has lied to the American people about his knowledge of and participation in his family's corrupt business schemes. He lied by telling the American people that there was an absolute wall between his official government duties and his personal life.
We're 62 hours away from shutting down the government of the United States of America, and Republicans are launching an impeachment drive based on a long debunked and discredited lie. No foreign enemy has ever been able to shut down the government of the United States, but now MAGA Republicans are about to do just that.
House Republicans say their Biden impeachment inquiry will continue even if the government does shut down.
Right now, you're taking a look over Towson and over Camden Yards, where the Orioles will play in just a few minutes. On the HD radar, you can see a few areas with showers, and that's all associated with our next weather maker. Unfortunately, that could lead to a few stray showers later tonight. 67 for the current temperature and still mostly cloudy over Baltimore. It's a little bit breezy with winds out of the east. Otherwise, across the state, temperatures mostly in the 60s, cloudy skies all around, but we could have the chance for a few showers later on. We're still pretty dry on the HD radar, but when we take a larger look, you can see some areas with showers. There's a low pressure system off the coast, and as that continues to move to the north, we'll have an increased chance for rain tonight and into the day tomorrow. Notice around 6, 7 o'clock, the chance for a stray shower. Many areas, though, staying dry and cloudy, but rain chances begin to increase closer to 10, 11. That's when we do have the chance for a few scattered showers. Eventually, though, they do start to taper, and it looks drier for tomorrow morning. So as you're driving to work or sending the kids to school, expect mostly cloudy skies with just a chance for a stray shower. We'll continue to see that rain taper through the rest of the day. And then as we get closer to Saturday, it's looking much better. There is the chance for a few stray showers along the eastern shore. Otherwise, mostly dry for the rest of the state. And we are looking at a nice day on Sunday. So we're keeping watch on 2 areas in the Atlantic Basin. Both are expected to stay away from land. However, they could have impacts on parts of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and the British Virgin Islands. Tonight, though, we stay pretty quiet, just the chance for a few showers with temperatures around 60. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at what to expect for the rest of the weekend and into next week in the exclusive 10-day forecast.
Kia and Hyundai announcing a major recall involving millions of vehicles. Why safety experts say the solution does not address the real problem. Well, this week, a major recall was announced involving nearly 3.4 million Kia and Hyundai vehicles. Christian Hauser from our Sinclair sister station in Cincinnati has the story.
We're talking about Hyundai and Kia models from year 2010 through 2019, including this 2012 Sorento. Now, of the nearly 3.4 million vehicles that are affected, it's about a 50-50 split between both manufacturers. Now, a safety expert that I spoke with says that the fix that's going to be happening here does not actually address the problem that's causing the issue.
The problem is the anti-lock brake control module can leak because of a faulty O-ring. That brake fluid can then get onto electrical components and cause an electrical short, which could possibly cause a fire while you're driving, even while the vehicle is parked.
Essentially, what they're doing is putting a fuse in that prevents the fires from occurring, but it doesn't address what is the crew of the issue, or the center of the issue, which is the fact that there's brake fluid leaking onto a circuit board.
So far, Hyundai has reported 21 fires and another 22 thermal incidents, including smoking, burning, or melting of parts. Meanwhile, Kia has reported 10 fires and melting incidents. Both companies say that no crashes have resulted from the issue.
Unfortunately, and this is probably more true than just a cynical view, manufacturers look for cheap ways to fix recalls without addressing the underlying issue that might be more expensive.
Once dealers get the parts, the notices will go out in mid-November for Kia owners and about a week later for Hyundais.
Now, I asked Brooks about getting the actual O-ring that's the culprit in this case fixed, and he says right now, because the manufacturers are prescribing this fuse fix, that if you wanted to get that O-ring replaced, you would be responsible for all repair costs, both parts and labor. So he says right now, just go with what the dealer is telling you. But in the meantime, you are asked to park these outside because of that fire risk. In Mount Auburn, I'm Christian Hauser. Back to you.
We are getting ready for